Hi guys, welcome or welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Anna, and today we're talking about how to ethically and painlessly, for all parties involved, break up with your partner. Apparently this is a topic that you all search a lot in relation to my name, so I figured I'd deliver what you guys clearly want. So this is not just how to break up with your partner, but how to do so without hurting them, hurting yourself, ending on hostile terms, and getting into an off and on relationship that never ends. A lot of these things usually tend to overlap when breakups are done incorrectly. If you enjoyed this video, if you end up liking it, I hope you hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. So let's just get straight into it. Tip number 1 is be clear. It's really tough to get broken up with, and a lot of people will try to cling to any ambiguity in the breakup. So like when someone's on Tinder, for example, if one person tells another, I'm just looking to have fun and maybe something more, what the other person usually hears if they're wanting a relationship is, I want to have fun with you, and if you play your cards right, which of course I will want to be with you. When really, if we were to more honestly translate what the person we're trying to say, it would be something more along the lines of, I have no intention of being in a relationship with you, or really anyone else at this time. So in a breakup, I think it's an act of mercy to be very clear about what exactly it is you're wanting. So what's wrong with this script? Hey Jared, I really love you and I wish we could spend our whole lives together like we planned. The past few weeks, I've just been feeling a bit off. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I think we need some time to be alone. So saying something like, I wish we could spend our whole lives together, saying things like this will only confuse your partner, especially if you don't actually mean it. Try to stick to the point you're trying to make, which in this case is, I don't want to be in a relationship with you anymore. Then when you say, the past few weeks I've just been feeling off, I don't know what's wrong with me, this is very vague. Try to be as specific as possible, and if you genuinely don't know why you're breaking up with this person, do some soul searching first, try to introspect, but ultimately be as clear as possible about what you do or don't know. So for example, instead of saying, I've just been feeling off, you could say, I've been feeling bored in our relationship, I've been feeling depressed and I'm not in a place to be with anyone, I feel I need the independence to be single again. And if you just don't know what it is that you want, say that. Say, I don't know what I want, but I know it's not this. Then when you say, I think I need some time to be alone, words like I think will make the other person think that there's wiggle room to convince you. And don't say I need some time to be alone if what you're really wanting to say is I want to end this relationship and you plan on getting back out there and dating someone else in 2 weeks. I really need some time to be alone could sound like maybe you want to take a break for a week or two, maybe you plan to come back to them, maybe you just need to be alone in general and it's not about them specifically, which if all of these things are not true could really confuse them. So try to be very clear, think about what exactly it is that you're asking for and clearly state that. Tip number 2 is kind honesty. Although it's very important to be clear with them, if you want to not hurt their feelings, it's also important to strike a balance between kindness and honesty. Being too brutally blunt can really hurt a person, but sugarcoating it can be a lie. Think about it in this way. What is the kindest way that I can communicate my point to this person? Sometimes people go too far in terms of kindness and they might go overboard with reminding their partner that they love them, that they're a great person, which might not actually sound sincere when they're being broken up with. They might use more passive language like I think or maybe, perhaps, in a few years, vague hope for the future. They might make promises that they can't keep. They might become self-deprecating or start to put themselves down. And in reality, they're not really doing anything wrong by just deciding to not be in a relationship anymore. They might become dishonest about the real reason they're ending the relationship, like maybe claiming it's about them when really they found someone else. So really it's about being attracted to or drawn to another person. But then people who go too far in terms of bluntness might say whatever it is on their mind without first filtering it to assess whether it's going to hurt the other person. So saying maybe this feels right, I already feel so much better because we're broken up. They might insult their partner, like commenting about things they can't change about themselves, such as their appearance or character traits that you find annoying, such as saying, well, I did tell you I wasn't attracted to you anymore, or, well, I did tell you I think you're just too loud for me. It might rub it in their partner's face that they're drawn to someone else, or just really framing the breakup as something that's supposed to elevate them, as if you're somehow dead weight that they're shedding. So what is a good middle ground between kindness and honesty? Something like, I've really appreciated the time we've spent together. I know there are issues we were trying to work through, but to me, they've gotten to a point where I no longer have the energy to fix them. Maybe saying, you're a great person. There are just certain areas where I think we're incompatible, such as X, Y, and Z. I feel that these things are so intrinsic to who we are as people that I don't think it's fair to either of us to stay with someone who needs to change those aspects of ourselves. Or maybe saying, I have found myself feeling drawn to other people, and I know for me, this is a sign that I've checked out of this relationship. The last thing that I want to do is to break your trust, so I think I owe it to both of us to end this now. And try to frame it in terms of X and Y as opposed to X but Y. So instead of, I think you're great, but I think you're great and. Even if it sounds like a contradiction, it's not a contradiction. Two opposites can coexist. So you might be thinking, should I really be honest about it if there's somebody else? In my opinion, yes. I think you should gently indicate that that is the case. It's easier for people to accept something if they're told about it up front than if they believe a sugar-coated version of the truth and then find out later that it was a lie. Give the other person the possibility to work through all the stages of grief, shock, anger, sadness, denial, sooner rather than later. Don't string on their pain. You don't want to hurt them in 2 weeks when you post a photo with your new bae, or when a mutual friend tells them that they saw you out with someone else, or when they find out that you were cheating on them the whole time. Don't coddle them by withholding the truth. It's a matter of respect to them. Otherwise, they're grieving a relationship and hoping you'll come back without really knowing who it is that you are. And like I said, I don't think that you need to rub it in their face. I don't think you need to be brutally honest about it, but giving them an indication that, yeah, to be honest, I am feeling drawn to other people. Tip number 3, try to support them. Breakups are hard, certainly. They'll have some strong feelings about it, maybe anger, sadness, confusion, shame. Try not to take it personally when that happens. Try to treat them the way you would treat a friend who just got some bad news or just got broken up with by someone else. Validate them, ask them how they're feeling, actively listen to them, empathize with them. So saying things like, I can only imagine how frustrating this might be. I'd be really angry too if I were in your shoes, stuff like that. Ask if there's anything you could do to help, but do maintain healthy boundaries. Like if they're saying, well, yeah, I want you to stay the night, saying, okay, well, not that, but is there something else I can do to support you? Only something within reason, like a hug, not like getting back together or giving back a box of their things without them having to drive to get it, stuff like that. Tip number 4, don't string them along. I see this a lot both personally and clinically, where one person breaks up with their partner and one day he feels lonely or aroused and decides it's a good idea to reconnect with his ex. Please don't do this. It's one of the cruelest things that you can do to a person. This is somebody who loved you, who wanted to be with you romantically not that long ago. There is no such thing as no strings attached with that type of person. Don't make them feel used. Don't demote them from significant other to friends with benefits. It's just not fair to them. I think a lot of people who do this in the moment convince themselves that it won't be hurtful to the other person. They justify it by thinking, well, what's the issue with us just having some fun since we already know we like each other? But if we really get down to it, I think people just don't know how to handle their own emotions or their loneliness. And maybe they expected to immediately have a million other options after the breakup, and now they're figuring out that's not actually the case. Maybe they long for the emotional connection that they had with their ex, and they fool themselves into thinking they can immediately just jump into a friendship, or maybe spark back up the relationship. Maybe they're just drunk and feeling impulsive. Either way, you owe it to yourself and to your ex to not prolong the pain by going into an off and on thing where you're constantly poking an open wound. That's the way to cause a scar. Just put a band-aid over the wound and let it heal. Similarly, don't make promises that you can't keep that will string along the other person. Don't hint that maybe in 10 years you'll rekindle the relationship, or maybe after some time you can see if you're both compatible. Don't treat this like an open door. Close the door. Do a clean cut. And lastly, tip number 5 is take some space. I think when two people break up, they sometimes hope to become friends right off the bat. I remember when I was going through my first breakup, I knew that my cousin was really good friends with his ex. Like, she was even invited to his wedding. And I asked him, how did you stay friends after being together? And he said, it just takes time. You can't expect to suddenly go from very strong feelings for someone like anger or love to the neutrality that is required of friendship. Your heart doesn't flutter when a platonic friend texts you. You don't get anxious when your friend goes out with other people. You're not looking up your platonic friend's location on the Snap Map at 11 p.m. on a Friday night because you're trying to figure out if there's some place where they might be hooking up with someone. It takes time to diffuse these strong feelings, and Even if you do diffuse these strong feelings, at some point you might not even be interested in keeping up a friendship with an ex, because there are some complications to it, especially if you get into a new relationship. So if you're constantly still in communication with each other, still being emotionally intimate, still frequently seeing each other, if you truly want to stay friends with your ex, give yourself the space required to do that. Don't do those things. Give yourself some time to cool down. You'll know you're able to reconnect as friends when you have absolutely no attraction to them. Like, aside from like finding someone objectively attractive, like saying, okay, like I think by society standards this person is attractive, if you personally don't feel attracted to them at all, pretty good indication that you're in a place of neutrality. And for some people that day never comes, and sometimes that leads to the one that got away phenomenon. So in conclusion, I think generally people get really uncomfortable with breakups, and this is understandably so. It's really hard to do something that you know will hurt someone else or someone that you at least care about. So people don't really know how to painlessly and ethically break up with their partners. I hope this elucidates a bit for you if this is something you're considering or information that you think you might find useful in the future. And I'm curious, if you've ever been broken up with, how many of these did your ex do? Because I have a feeling not too many people know how to ethically break up with someone. So let me know about that in the comments down below. I do have a video actually on why people stay friends with their ex. I will put a card up here if you want to check that out. And I'll see you soon.